Martyn, are you the scariest person on the planet?
I hope so. I kind of break down when I was 19, 20. One thing led to another, and I think it was just too much for me to deal with at 18, 19. The refusal to lose, the ability to switch off from the outside world, and also knowing that if you don't win today, you've got tomorrow to be successful.
So has weightlifting changed since the days of Arnold Schwarzenegger then, Ronnie Coleman, and Dorian Yates?
I think a lot, yeah. And I don't necessarily think for the better, to be honest. The misconception of what a human body should look like.
The Iranian Hulk, but couldn't find out the real reason for the fight not going ahead.
Him himself was probably used. Then to me, it sort of came very clear that he hasn't got a clue what's going on. The problem with free speech is you also open yourself up to people who actually don't know what they're talking about. Well, free speech in the 1940s was very dangerous.
So if you were offered like 25 mil to fight...
Yeah, I'd do it.
Hi, it's Rob Moore and welcome to Disruptors. On this episode, we have the nightmare, Martyn Ford. We have an insanely in-depth, surprising conversation with this very misunderstood human being. We talk about social media in the fitness industry. We talk about how Martyn experienced depression and overcame it to be successful. And we go deep and long into some very controversial subjects. But before we dive in, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Martyn, are you the scariest person on the planet?
I hope so. It's what's been said, and potentially people that don't know me may go along with that. And then those that do, it's one of the most humorous quotes that's ever been said.
Why do you think people think that?
That I'm the scariest man on the planet?
Yeah.
It could be to do with the radical tattooing across the face, or the movies that I've been in, the training that I do, the fact that I'm entering the fight world. Could be a combination of 3 or 4 things, to be fair.
Do you think you're misunderstood then?
Oh, definitely.
Now's your chance. What do people not know about you and misunderstand about you?
I think people that follow me on social platforms get a glimpse of seeing the real me. For myself, I'm someone who comes from a good background, a good upbringing. I played a very good sport in cricket at high level, so I got to mix and socialise with very educated kids and adults throughout my youth. I went to university, I've had a very good upbringing. Then the age of 21, 22, decided to look normal wasn't for me. And whether it was part of a midlife crisis, a breakdown or whatnot, I decided to reinvent myself. And it kind of worked, to be fair. Brave, stupid, but worked.
So was it a conscious decision then to have so many tattoos and just completely look different, or is it the sort of thing you do your arm first and then it just sort of becomes an addiction?
It wasn't a conscious effort at all. I think the problem with me, my personality is very addictive, which is why I've got to be very careful on what I do. And the tattoos was something that was supposed to be very small, and like a meaningful tattoo to start with, which was actually my family's initials across here. And then when I had it done, it looked so small because I was huge at the time. And I thought, that looks ridiculous. It looked like such a girly tattoo on my arm. So I'm gonna add something to it. And then we added a bit more, and then I think that's when I got the bug for the tattoos, and then that sort of led to my face. And that was an interesting one, to go home with your face tattooed.
How old were you when you did that?
23.
So your parents couldn't really say anything then?
Well, yeah, they weren't impressed. It was my grandmother that was really upset. But I never forget having all these tattoos done, and I used to have, I was a personal trainer, I had some brilliant clients. I used to be very, very close with them, to be fair. And I remember going into the gym one day, and this older lady, she saw it, she was horrified, and she was like a second mom to me. She's like, you've ruined your life now. You're never gonna be able to work, you're never gonna be able to do this. You've had these tattoos, what are you gonna do for the rest of your life? I remember saying, I'll never have to work for anyone. Yeah. And I know I'll be successful. I always had that ambition that I was gonna do something different. And to be fair, I backed myself and created something that can't be replicated, and it's definitely paid off for me. So
we'll talk about tattoos in a bit, because I'd like to ask what some of them mean, and also sort of the image. But when you do research into who you are and what you do. There's a lot. So I'm going to read it out to you.
This will be interesting.
Yeah. Martyn Ford is a famous actor, fitness freak, gym trainer, social media star, bodybuilder, internet personality, and Instagram influencer. So my question to you, Martyn, is how do you see yourself?
As a dad of 3 who does anything to
That's
make
enough.
money to pay the bills. I'd prioritise myself, for me, where I'd prefer to be seen and prefer to go in the acting route. I mean, I've been in the industry for 7 years now, and I stumbled into it, which was something that was half planned, half dream. And then got my first film, got my first TV show. Then I was able to afford to educate myself in that world, so I went back into the teaching, the learnings, and that's where my energy and passion definitely lies. The last 12 months, I've had the opportunity to get more into the fight world. Now, for me, the idea of the fighting was something that married up beautifully to the film, because it's a very similar audience, demographic. The energy is very similar as well, and with my history of being a sports person, having that ability to feel that energy and buzz from a sporting environment once more was why I went down that route. So I'd definitely say where I'm at now will be more of a actor, semi-professional fighter. Right, I wouldn't put myself as a professional fighter, I wouldn't put myself in that league, but I take it extremely serious. Training 6 times a week, best coaches money can pay for. So I've done it for 5-6 years properly. The last 12 months married to it. So I'm at a level where I can be respected in the sport.
And did you get into fighting because you wanted to fight, or because of the huge opportunity with all the celebrities fighting and the YouTubers and all that?
It was, to be honest, it was a combination of both. For me, I kind of don't like the celebrity fighting, which is why I'm trying to veer out of that and go more into the professional world with KSW. So there's a Polish MMA outfit which do professional fight. It's like UFC, but Europe, very big organisation. They offered me the opportunity to fight on their platform just before COVID. Unfortunately, I was filming Fast and Furious 9 at the time, so I couldn't do it for insurance purposes. Then COVID hit, so that was 3 years ago now. I've had a conversation with the CEO of KSW who are extremely keen to get me back in. For me, if I'm going to go into the fight world, I'd prefer to go and fight properly than celebrity fights. And for that reason, it's because I don't think I'd get anything from fighting other celebrities. I'd still get people saying, yeah, you won, but he's not even a fighter, so what's the point? And as a sports person, if I'm going to train for something, if I'm going to do something, I want, win, lose or draw, I want people at the end of it to go, fair play, you stepped in with a real fight and not a payday. And that's more the passion of being a sports person than anything else.
Yeah. So if you were offered like 25 mil to fight,
yeah, I'd do it. I'd do it. Yeah. I'd do it, but the reality is that's probably not going to happen. And the opportunity to fight someone for $500,000 or $1 million who's another celebrity, or I can fight for similar sort of money, not as much, but on a professional outfit. I'd rather fight the professional outfit because it will give me more of a credibility in the sport. And that's more where my passion for the fitness lies.
The Iranian Hulk. When I did my research, I couldn't find out the real reason for the fight not going ahead.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be nice to ask you.
Yeah, no problem at all. We had the confrontation.
Why did you push him?
There was a lot being said outside of, well, through social media. I don't know how in detail you want to go into it.
In detail.
Okay.
You clearly go down the gym every now and again.
Sometimes.
You got a 6-pack on your face, I can see that. So, how'd you get into bodybuilding? I heard you. Let me just throw a guess out there. You must have been a bowler in cricket if you're 6'8".
I was a bowler, yes.
I used to play for my county, so you
awesome.
probably would have taken my head off. Only Cambridgeshire, but it was my county. And so I figured you'd be a bowler with your height. So how'd you go from like a lean, fast bowler to, what are you, 23 stone?
At the moment, yeah, but at my biggest I was about 26 stone. So I was definitely like big.
3 a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was big.
Yeah.
I was very big. And to be fair, like size-wise, if I wanted to go back to that again, it wouldn't be difficult. It wouldn't be sensible. I'm 40 years old now and I want to feel
suppose it probably wouldn't help your fighting either.
It would. Yeah, well, that would be the main thing. I had to drop the weight for the fighting, so it was a conscious effort to bring the weight down. And I think this is my natural weight now. This is definitely. I mean, I've been at this weight for a good 7-8 months, training a couple of hours a day. So I definitely think this is where my natural weight lies. The bodybuilding, that's one thing that always sort of makes me. When people class me as a bodybuilder, it's kind of like, oh, not because I haven't trained with weights, more a disrespect to the bodybuilders of the world who compete. For me, I'd say I was more someone that just enjoyed training with weights because I've never been competitive bodybuilding. I've never stepped on stage. I've trained as hard as any other bodybuilder out there. And the reason I got into that was 100% because of I had a kind of breakdown when I was 19, 20. I got released from Warwickshire for cricket. Granddad passed away with cancer and one thing led to another, and I think it was just too much for me to deal with at 18, 19. Ended up trying to control myself, my life with food, and gave myself anorexia, which was a bizarre twist from someone who's always been sport-based, to go from very healthy and athletic and powerful into someone that was weak and feeble and had this issue with food and couldn't get enough energy to get off the sofa for 6 months. It was a weird place to be. Now, the bodybuilding for me was something that I saw more of an answer to my problems. I knew if I could get into a sport that required me to eat and to train, to put weight back on, I could get myself healthy. So for me, it was like, right, well, if I become obsessed with this and if I put my time into it, it gives me a purpose again in life. And that was the hardest thing. I lost all my purpose. I'd lost from being promised I was going to be a professional athlete to nothing literally overnight. It was a difficult pill to swallow as a 19-year-old. And for me, bodybuilding almost saved, well, it saved my life in all fairness. And I think that's why I was so passionate and so obsessed with it, because I could see each day I was getting heavier, I was feeling better, I was becoming stronger. And it gave me the energy to live again. And I think that's where the obsession can take over. So you've got to try and find that healthy balance. But I went from 14 stone to probably 21, 22 stone in 12 months, which was
12 months?
Yeah. But you've got to remember, I'd gone from being maybe 16 stone athletic to underweight at 12 stone with an eating disorder. Body percentage was about 1-2%. So my body was so craving food. It wasn't hard to put weight on, in the sense that everything I ate just stuck to me. And I took the mindset of the cricket training into the bodybuilding world and just train. I mean, he trains for me every day, so he sees how hard I train, how much I train. I train 3-4 hours a day, and I always have done. It was just an element of, okay, right, well, I'll switch the type of training I do, which obviously required me to switch the food. The food was ridiculous. A lot of it, people don't realise how much food you have to eat. But luckily, I've always had a big appetite, so it was something I sort of fell into. Genetically was very gifted at doing.
So you said you took the mindset of being ultimately almost a professional sportsman and training like one into your weight training.
Yes.
What is that mindset?
The refusal to lose, the ability to switch off from the outside world and focus and be consistent, and also knowing that if you don't win today, you've got tomorrow to be successful. And that did so much for me in the gym, because I think a lot of people start a fitness regime or start something and give up. And my ability to not give up is probably what makes me so strong when it comes to sports, and the refusal to give up, especially after going through what I'd been through when I had that breakdown. And that was the first and the last time in 40 years I've ever given up. And I'd never want to feel that again. So for me, having that feeling of what it's like to be at the very bottom drove me forward, and it almost became a bit of a curse as well, because it leads to overtraining and it also leads to you doing too much. So as long as you can take a backward step and analyze when you're doing right, when you're doing wrong, the energy to do it's always there, the motivation's always there. And I think that's something I took through life with me. If there's something I really want to do, is just keep knocking that door until the door opens, and eventually it will, but then you've got to take advantage of it when you get in. And that's definitely something that I live by.
So when you're in the gym, are you one of these guys that's completely unapproachable? Don't come and talk to me when you're in the gym.
If I'm training for something, yeah. I'll put my headphones on. I'll have my trainer next to me. My trainer will literally put weights on, puts weights off, and doesn't really say or do much, just stops people coming up.
Yeah.
Which, unless you're in the fitness world, you won't really understand. My issue now is, as my popularity is growing and people are recognising me, I don't want to come across as being rude. But at the same time, it's like me coming into your workspace, opening the door and sitting next to you while you're working and trying to have a conversation. All your focus is on your work. If it's not, you're not going to be successful. And the same with my training. All my focus has to be on training. I can't have a chat halfway through a set. It would take my energy, it would take my rest, it would take everything, it would just go off. So for me, the headphones is a must. Even when I'm, with people, training with them, I'll have my headphones on. Sometimes
do you have the big fuck off ones?
I have them all.
The bigger they are, the more you can fuck off.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, this is what's really funny. Sometimes I won't even put music on. But I have the headphones on, and people won't think you're rude if you don't look at them in the eyes and you don't talk to them, because they'll just presume you're listening to music.
Yeah.
It gives me the ability to just zone in.
Yeah.
And that's what's key. There's people that go to a gym, and then there's people that train, and they're two very different things. Very different things. And the only way you're going to get results is if you know how to train.
Yeah.
Whether that's bodybuilding, fighting, any sport, you need to know, and you need to be able to push yourself to that level to hit that level of excellence.
Mm. So has weightlifting, bodybuilding, going down the gym changed since the days of Arnold Schwarzenegger, then Ronnie Coleman, then Dorian Yates? Has it changed a lot since then?
I think a lot, yeah. And I don't necessarily think for the better, to be honest.
Really?
I mean,
how's it changed?
I think it's changed a lot through the misconception of fitness, the misconception of what a human body should look like, the filters on social media, the pressures from social media and media on kids, whether that be I see so many teenagers now, boys and girls, who have this expectation of themselves of what they should look like and how they should look and how they should train. And the reality is, I'd say 80% of what's out there on social media from fitness platforms bullshit.
Like the Iranian Hulk.
Exactly.
Didn't take much research. Yeah, I mean, that was Photoshop.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean,
yeah.
That's something that I wasn't necessarily referring to, but 100% is correct.
Yeah.
Someone who's edited photos to create this image that other people look up to, and then when the light shines on him in real time, is nothing like the photos, whether that's height or size or power.
Yeah.
And that was one occasion that got him into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. What trouble did it get him into?
Well, the whole of Iran was against him. He turned around on social media saying how he hates Iran. Now, the thing is, Iran and UK are very different. If I was to turn around on social media and go, the British people irritate me, I don't like them, no one would really care. You do that in Iran, you better make sure you've got bulletproof windows. Yeah. His mum and dad came out, disowned him. He was an embarrassment to the family. He went on national TV, started crying.
Yeah, I saw that.
He had a breakdown there live on TV. He created an alter ego via social media that he didn't realise was an alter ego. I don't know if he's of the right mental state, if I'm honest. He created this image that he was adamant would be godlike, and then the reality was the image and the way he portrayed himself to be on social media was not the reality. And then when the alter ego steps into the real world and is confronted, it's a very different outcome to what it looks like on the computer. So I think there's that side of it. There's the side of it where, kids growing up that haven't got the self-esteem and the confidence that they might have in their 30s when they're in late teens are only confident to have a picture on social media if it's a filter, or only confident if it's, you know what I mean? It's such a bad way to live, and it's such a, I think life has become so judgmental on the external that a lot of people forget the internal, and it's very easy to see on social media. We were joking earlier about TikTok. You can get a girl, put a picture on the bikini, and she'll get 2-3 million followers. You get someone who's educated talking about biodegradable, 5 followers. And it's, where's the real value in what people want to be surrounded with? And that's what's worrying about social media. I think there's a lot of good in social media, and I think with the right people on the right platforms, it's fantastic. But there's also a lot of content out there that's so mind-numbing and so time-consuming that I worry what our next generation is going to be like. Whether it's, how can you as an adult know how much time you waste on platforms, right? And this is us as quite successful adults, or very successful adults, yeah. So as a 14, 15-year-old, if they're spending 4 to 5 hours a day on social media laughing at TikToks, where's their education? Where's their progressive learning? Where's their future? And that's what concerns me with social media.
There's about 3 things I want to jump in on what you just said there. First thing is, how do we change it then? Mm-hmm. How do we change social media? Because we can talk about it, but it's like, I rant about the government because I think a lot of things they're doing are wrong, but yep. Boris isn't watching or listening or changing.
No.
How do we change social media?
I think a lot becomes, I think we go back to the responsibility of parents. And I really do. I think the problem is parents now put social media in front of children to shut them up and not bring them up. And a lot of people won't like that. But if you are very honest with yourself, how many times do you think, right, if I just give them YouTube, I've got a quiet hour, I can get the house tidy. Or in the car, there's to go and watch. I'm sure every single person as a parent's done it. I've done it. And I also try and make conscious effort not to do it and go back to the old school of playing games in the car when driving and so on, and not letting the kids have the laptops, the iPads, the phones at the age of 6 and 7. But the problem is it's so easy to do it. Now, I think taking some responsibility as parents, I think is key. You can't constantly blame the platforms because they're not going to listen and they're not going to go anywhere. And
they feed you back what you search for.
100%. And we know as well.
They give you what you want.
We know how clever the people are in Facebook. There's been all the documentaries on what they do and how they do it and how they create the numbers, so you're obsessed with looking at TikTok and Facebook to see your number count going up because it gives you that feel-good factor. And that's what's worrying, is the fact that they've got very educated, clever people creating obsessive behavior in normal people without them understanding it, almost creating gamblers in that sense. And that's the... I don't think there is anything that can really be done without bringing down social media, because without that, there isn't social media. It's very difficult. So it's trying to educate and to teach the importance of balance and structure. I don't think it's a case of it's new. When I was young, I was terrible for being out too late playing football or cricket, or always out doing sports rather than homework. So it's only the same type of thing, but it was a healthier obsession. Yeah. The problem with social media and computers and the phone, it's not that healthy, in the sense that people are trapped in, they're isolated, they're very vulnerable, especially on stuff like TikTok. That's something that, for someone who joined 7 days ago, is very concerned, having a 9-year-old daughter, the fact that I can be searching through TikTok and you've got a 13, 14-year-old doing dances on the feed that they recommend for you to look at, and you're like, why are you showing me kids on a they shouldn't even be on the platform. And that's where it becomes, I think Instagram is probably better in that sense, because I've never seen it on Instagram or Facebook in all honesty, but TikTok definitely seems to be one which, for me as a dad, worries me. The platform, the ability to connect with such young and dangerous mixes of ages.
Well, while we're on social media, there is a bit of a change. You're seeing platforms like Getter and Rumble come out, which claim to be free speech, because on all the other channels you can get cancelled
100%
really easily. And then it took me by surprise, but I thought this could be good. Elon Musk may be buying Twitter and open source algorithm and all that. Do you think that's a step in the right direction?
Yes and no. Because the problem with free speech is you also open yourself up to people who actually don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then, you know...
Which is a lot of people.
Well, free speech in the 1940s was very dangerous.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's the problem. You only need someone who's clever and educated to have the ability to have a platform with free speech to turn that free speech into something extremely dangerous, whether it be war or whatever it be. That's the problem with free speech. I also believe that there is an issue with not having the ability to challenge government or decisions. I mean, for me, the one that jumped straight to my head was the lockdown. And obviously coming from someone who's obsessed with fitness and extremely health conscious, what was going on then for me was just ringing red bells everywhere. And the biggest one that I just couldn't wrap my head around was the fact that everything was closed down, everything was shut, and we had this massive health concern, yet McDonald's drive-thru was left open.
And the gyms were shut.
Yeah. And the fact that fast food chains were left open, just, for me, I just couldn't get my head around it. I really couldn't. I'm all up for let's trying to save people and help people. And if we don't socialise, we'll save 100 older people. Okay, fine. I'm all up for that. But then when you're not transparent and you're not being consistent with the advice given, and the problem for me with the food side of it and the fitness and the gym side of it was that they were stopping people going to the park and exercising. Yet there was nothing, and there was a common link between obesity and the virus, and obviously anyone that was overweight, it was a lot more impactful and so on. So why not start to approach and attack the food industry with the chocolate, with the alcohol?
Because it's a massive, powerful industry.
And how much money is it bringing?
Yeah. Why is there not this big campaign for education on being healthy?
Yeah. It comes and goes every now and again. It flourishes with like every couple of months. There's a Jamie Oliver special, or there's this, or the schools are introducing walking at lunchtime. It's just absolute nonsense. The reality is there needs to be a shift in people. I think we always need to go backwards to go forwards. I think the last 10, 15 years has been the way that society's gone is going to impact us massively, and I think we'll see it when we hit our 60s and 70s if we don't change now, because all of a sudden you'll start to realise the impact when people hit their older years. If these kids nowadays, the amount of overweight kids is ridiculous, and you can't say anything because that's classed as bullying and it's classed as not being, it's not, if you can't call a kid overweight. And I'd never dream of going up to an individual kid and going, you're fat, you are. But it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Why are so many kids overweight nowadays? We have so much knowledge and so much education and so much resources at our fingertips. Why are we even allowing these kids to be like this? It goes back down to the same point. It makes a fortune. The sugar industry, there was that documentary on Nestle when there was an envelope passed because sugar was researched and it wasn't allowed out, but then it was. Wonder why? You can go back and chase everything through time. It's all down to money. It's just a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, wow. Wasn't on my list of things to talk about. But I think it's great we're talking about it, but let's not get each other cancelled. So we'll stop there. Have you ever taken steroids?
No. I was just no comment. For me, the steroid situation is a very difficult one to go into.
I only had one question about the Iranian Hulk, but something that interested me was when I did my research, I couldn't find out the real reason for the fight not going ahead.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be nice to ask you.
Yeah, no problem at all. So you obviously saw the confrontation.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that as well.
So we had the confrontation.
Why did you push him?
There was a lot being said outside of, through social media. There was a hell of a lot said. I don't know how in detail you want to go into it.
In detail, please.
Okay. So there was messages from people, I'll rape your daughter, I'll kill your children, I'm going to send you home dead. And bear in mind, my daughter's 4, 9. Yeah.
Wow.
So this has come from within a circle of. him himself, for me, was probably used as, after I met him, right, after the push, then to me it sort of came very clear that he hasn't got a clue what's going on. His management and the people looking after him before, he had new management now, but before, definitely hung him out to dry. And they were stitching him left, right and centre. Now, when we had this face-off and the whole push happened, that was a build-up of 6 months of, well, probably 4 months of people sending me messages on that level, which I've still got all the screenshots of. Never did anything with it, it was just, it's still there. A lot of anger to that. You've got kids, you know exactly how you'd feel if someone said that. And then there was a lot of stuff going on about just childish crap. And for me, it was a build-up of it all. And I says to the promoters, don't put me face to face with him until we fight, because I'm going to fight. And I don't want to fight in a gym or I don't want to. I want, you know. So they put us face to face. It was a cock up on the promotion side, if I'm honest, with the face off. It should never have happened. When it happened, how it happened, it was the wrong place, the wrong time, the wrong environment. There's no security. It was just stupid. And then the second face-off happened where he tries to take me down, and that was the one
almost like rugby tackle by a piece of
blue
tack.
No idea what.
I don't know what it was.
And that for me was the time where I was more concerned about the damage that was going to be done to him, because it was very obvious and very clear that there was never going to be a fair fight. And he, after that, we were supposed to do a press conference, and I saw him after that at that press conference, and he was crying. Like, he was broke. He didn't want to fight, he didn't want to go out, he didn't want to wake, he didn't want to do anything. He was bad. He then put a post out on social media, which you may or may have not seen, because he took down about 12 hours later saying he wants to kill himself, right? On his stories. Wow. Then there was issues with payment through the organisation, which was one thing, or it wasn't rather here or there. So we've got a combination of 4 or 5 things that have happened. Now, after all of this that's happened, he still wants to fight, right? But he seems to think we can arrange a fight that wouldn't necessarily be as real as a real fight. Then he sort of comes to terms that that's not going to happen. Then his management, I don't know what his management were trying to do at this point. They were being very fishy, to say the least. And then we got back to the UK. I watched all the videos. He went and had the interview on TV, he cried. He got absolutely hammered on social media. He then, his parents came on, disowned him. And for me, I phoned up the organiser. I can't fight this guy. I do not want to be responsible for this kid, 1, being bullied, and 2, taking his own life, because that is the only way it would have ended. And that was pretty much it. There was about 8 clauses in the contract already being broke, through money not being paid, things not being done. A lot of stuff was not happening that was promised me for the actual fight itself. The fact that I was promised by the people that this guy was 400 pounds and 6'4" and a pro MMA fighter, had eyes on him, apparently. American guys had gone over and seen him around and swore blind he was huge, he was this, he was that. It's the only reason we flew to Dubai. The reality was he was 270, 280 pound kid in a man, you know, it wasn't small, but it wasn't big. And honestly, I think he had mental issues. He definitely had something that wasn't normal. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all, whether that was just the lack of education or the lack of opportunity or whatnot. He was actually quite a nice kid, which made it even worse. In my opinion, he'd been absolutely strung out and stuck to the, you know, he'd been put out there to make money off. The thing that really ended it for me was the crying on TV and his parents, and then him saying he wants to kill himself. I can't be responsible for that, just for a fight. It's not something that I'd feel proud of if there's no win. There's no way in a million years he would have done anything to make the fight worthwhile. The fight would have been a very easy victory. He would have then ended up potentially killing himself. which sounds stupidly drastic, but from what he's already put out on social media and the way that the people were mocking him, I think was a very potential outcome. And that was that. It was just something that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I lost a fortune from that fight, from making that decision, but...
You're okay to say how much?
A lot. Hell of a lot. A lot of money.
7 figures?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't worth the gamble if he had took his life, because that would have all been down on me. 100% would have been down to me. I don't think people would have blamed me or people, but for me personally, knowing I had the opportunity not to make that happen, I hope to God he doesn't fight anyone, because it wouldn't end well for him if it was anyone that could actually fight. And I hope, I'm sure he's very depressed at the moment, and from someone who's been through depression, it's not a nice place to be, and I wouldn't want to be someone that adds to it.
Yeah.
So it was money that I was promised but never had, so I don't miss it. Once that face-off happened, to me, it was like, oh, this is embarrassing now.
Yeah. He couldn't even look at you the second time he walked back
shitting himself.
up. Yeah, he was. He looked
Absolutely
like a little boy.
shitting himself. He was shaking.
Yeah.
Shaking.
That's really good what you did. Because some other people wouldn't have done that. That's really good.
They would
what
have,
you did.
100% they would have fought him.
Yeah.
100%. There's a lot of people, oh, just fight. I can't, man. I don't want to fight someone that can't fight. But like me and you fighting. You probably fight better than, but yeah, that's not going to be a fair fight. You're probably a fucking black belt now.
Yeah.
I'll fuck you up. But there's got to be an element of fairness.
Yeah.
And that to me is what it didn't. There just wasn't an element of
Yeah, because I saw when you did the video talking about it, and you were very respectful, and you didn't give the reason why, which I didn't think was fair on you.
For me, there was no win.
No.
There was no win at all, because if I'd have beat him up and it would have come out, oh yeah, he's got mental issues and now he's killed himself.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That? Yeah.
There's my brand gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, Martyn's pulled out. I'm like, oh yeah, so I look like the pussy.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't mind. I'd rather take that.
Yeah.
Because anyone with half a brain will listen to what I'm saying and go, yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of risk that I took by calling the fight off.
Yeah.
Because people can also turn around and say, oh, you've just bottled it, you're a pussy. So, well, all right, if that's what you think.
Well,
it's fine.
Yeah.
But I can live with that.
Yeah.
I couldn't live with him killing himself.
No.
And I genuinely, hand on heart, to this day, still think he would have done something. He wanted to kill himself on my life, right? He was on social media on the top of a bridge in Dubai, and you can find it still, the video, saying goodbye to everyone, basically. And that he's got no money, he's done this, he's done that, and that everyone hates him, and his parents have disowned him, and I can't go on. He's crying on social media live.
Wow.
It's mad.
Yeah.
I've also got pictures of him in a strip club, pissed, during fucking Ramadan in Dubai. At the same time, while you're saying, Martyn's a pussy. I don't know if it's like just where he's been brought up in Iraq. It's a village.
Yeah.
Like these people, it's not like we go to school, it's a fucking village. He's outside the hotel, right, with 7 guys. Yeah. I've gone there, it was my anniversary, me and the wife flew out for our anniversary, 2 nights in Dubai. First night, she's landed, he's outside. I come to see you, you pussy boy, come on pretty boy, we fight now. What fucking motherfuckers outside my fucking hotel?
Oh my God.
And he knows where I stay because Paramount sponsors me, so he knows I'm in that fucking hotel. And he's sat out there with 7 guys. Bear in mind, these are Iranians who can just fucking walk into Dubai without any real checks. I'm like, I don't really want to walk outside with 7 Iranians that I don't know. No. There's no win here. Me and him fight, I'm getting arrested if I batter him. They all batter me, I'm going to end up dead.
Yeah.
And I'm on my fucking wedding anniversary. Flew the wife out. That's the level he was at. But he's just, I don't know. I feel sorry for him, to be honest. Yeah. I do genuinely feel sorry for him, but at the same time, there's a point where you've got to take a little bit of responsibility. Yeah. In Muslim countries that follow the religion, you don't speak about people's fucking moms, daughters. It's frowned upon. So, like, he was actually so fucking polite when I spoke to him properly. Like, I mean, he got humbled like fuck within half a second. And then because we had to meet after, because we were supposed to do a press conference, he was sobbing. It was like, I don't want to do it, I can't. And I'm like, you need to. He's like, no, I don't want to be in the set. I don't want to see Mr. Ford again. No. And you know what's really sad? I actually think he was a massive fan.
Right.
And all these, because he didn't speak English very well either at all, he had a translator.
Yeah.
I don't believe a word that his management told him, and vice versa. And we brought our own, so we had 2 Iranians from London come over, and they were lovely kids, very, very professional business people from London, and they were speaking to him, and they were just like, bro, he's fucked. Like, he doesn't know doesn't know. He was told by his management it was a fixed fight. It was like WWE.
You were going to jump off the ropes onto him.
Which explains his training.
Yeah.
His fucking, the way he was, and why he was so shocked when I pushed the fucker.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, this wasn't in the fucking agreement.
This shit got real quick.
This shit got real. Another reason was, I'm not fighting him.
No.
Like, you told me he was ready to fight, he was 400 pounds, he was a professional MMA fighter, then that turns up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He had massive hoodies on, big boots.
Yeah.
Big. I was like, fucking hell, he's sweating his ass off. And then he was like, the only reason he pushed me over was because I hadn't trained properly and I wasn't wearing my trainers. Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, I only had an egg that day to eat. It was something like that, wasn't it? It was, you know, when you're just like, this is like...
This sounds like a circus. God, you sound like you did well
I tell
to
you
get
what,
out of it.
make a fucking fortune on Netflix, a documentary.
Oh, yeah?
A brilliant documentary.
Yeah. And they paid you well for that?
Who?
Did you say you made a fortune on the Netflix?
No, I said there would be a documentary on Netflix to be made.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is as well, like, you know, if you're going to step into a cage and fight someone, you've got to have some fucking balls.
Oh, that's, yeah. Yeah, you can die. That's like,
Boxer died last week, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's that young kid that died last week.
The one that was
hitting the cup. Yeah, he was boxing, yeah. Everyone was taking the piss. God, look at this fucking idiot boxing. Next day he died.
Yeah.
He was only 24, 25.
Not young.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's a tough... You're in there to kill someone.
Yeah.
You're not going into an MMA fight to have a fucking game of cards.
No.
Ultimately, you're there until he either knock him out or he taps.
Yeah.
And there's no being friend. There's sportsmanship. There's no friendship.
No.
It's a different thing. It's like me fighting Eddie. It would never be a fight because
I
couldn't. It would never be a fight worth watching. Put it that way.
Because you just wouldn't be able to.
We're pals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I like it's like when I spy with Adam. I spied my mate. It was a naughty street kid, and I eat him proper one. I was like, "You're right."
Yeah.
No, because I'm horrible. Like I enjoy fighting, but I wouldn't enjoy hurting my friends.
No.
If I don't know you, wicked, because you know what you signed up for.
Yeah.
So I was saying it takes a lot of balls to get into that cage. And then I was lost, and I was like, I want to try and create something and be someone that I enjoy being. Rather than just working for the sake of working and paying a bill for the sake of paying a bill, I actually want to enjoy my life and what do I want to be and what do I want to do.
Depression's come up 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
You're a big, strong man on the outside and you've felt weakness on the inside. So if anyone's feeling depressed, how can they turn it around like you did?
Do you know, I think depression is a very difficult thing to give a single answer to. For me, I found goal setting absolutely imperative. It was something that once I realized what I wanted to achieve and by feeling the success, it allowed me to overcome the daily depression. Which I think there's different levels of depression. I think that the problem with depression is that people sort of judge it as a weakness. Now, I'd like to judge it as actually a strength, and it sounds weird, but for me, I feel depressed when I'm not being successful or when I'm not doing something. So if you switch it around on its head and look at it like that, it's like, well, okay, but you're depressed because you're not being progressive, which actually means you're a very focused, determined person who wants to be successful, and you've got ambition. You're just not doing the right things, which is why you're feeling shit. So when you start changing the mindset of what is depression and why you're feeling depressed, well, I'm depressed because I'm not this, or I haven't got the car I want, or I live in the house that I want to live in, or I'm not doing the things I want. Okay, that's fine. And to feel depressed because of that is okay, but what's not okay is having a path that you can take to get there. So break it back into stages. Why aren't you driving the car you want? Well, you're not driving the car you want because you're not doing the job that you need to do to pay the money, right? Well, what do I need to do to get that job? Okay, well, I need a job X, Y, Z, whatever it may be. Right, well, how do you get that job? Well, that goes back to the education. Right, well, start there. Start back. Rather than it just being, oh, I'm just depressed, there's no tomorrow. Actually look at how you can use tomorrow to make the day after even better. And I think that's where my fitness really comes into play, because I've seen the changes that can happen, whether it's sports or on personal level. I hated the way I looked. All right, well, I'm gonna go into the gym and I'm gonna change that. But it didn't change overnight. It was something that I had to plan for 12, 18 months, and started to get changes over the time. And it's the same with education. Do you know what I mean? If you want to have a job that pays well, you're going to need to understand how to do that job. So go back to the start, research it, educate yourself in it, start to put yourself in the right places with the right people, start to make a network for yourself and grow it that way. And then, because you're actually focused and busy on something, you haven't got time to be depressed. And you feel that, I think being progressive is the best medicine you can take for depression. I think the worst thing is when you're depressed and you go to the doctors and you get given something to make you feel happy. Because ultimately you're just putting a bandage on a massive wound that's not going to ever help it. And a lot of the medication is going to actually probably make you less productive.
Would you call yourself a businessman? Just quickly, we have got, for the biggest man, the smallest glass ever. This is ridiculous. It's like a thimble. We've tanked about 2 of these already. Could you get us another one, Eden? Is that all right? Maybe get a bigger glass.
I'd say, I studied marketing and business at A-levels.
Yeah.
And I only took it to A-levels purely because when I was at the age, I then went more into the sports with passion. But then business-wise, I've ran a very successful personal training company before this hit. I have a very successful online coaching company now. I'm about to go back into launching a supplement company, collaborating with a sponsor. I'd say I'm quite business savvy on aspects, 100%. There's definitely parts that I'm not strong at, but then I think that's where it becomes beautiful, having a fusion with people who are. So, I'm a good ideas person. I'm a good people person. I understand demographics and trying to pick one business and utilize the demographic you've already got by creating another one. I also understand the importance of job roles and finding the right people to fit and building a team and making that team feel part of a family for progression. I think I have elements of me that's definitely a business-minded person, and that excites me as well, to be honest. I do get excited by the opportunities of being in business. The beauty of that for me is very similar to the bodybuilding, in the sense that I did is growing something and seeing something grow from nothing to something, and you being responsible for that. I think that's what I get excited about with business.
And out of all the ventures you're in, because you're in a lot of ventures, which pays the best?
It's difficult. Films are like one-offs that pay very well. But then after the back end of the films allows me to create the sponsorships. Sponsorships pay very well. The online coaching pays very well. I'd say the ability at the moment to make the most money will be from the fitness industry and through the coaching and the supplementation. Definitely. My issue and my problem has always been the same, in the sense that my morals might be too high to make the most money. And when it comes to bringing out supplementation and supplements in general, I'm very adamant that I'll only push what I genuinely believe in. And there's a lot of supplements out there that aren't necessarily what they are all hyped up to be, but they're great sellers. And so that's my stumbling block. But also at the same time, I don't think that's a bad thing, because I'd hope that people who follow me and know me then will trust me, and they will appreciate the fact that I'm a very honest person when it comes to a lot, to be honest. I'm not someone who tries to sell something, or someone who tries to
Thanks, Eden.
over-fantasize.
As well.
Thank you very much. Over-fantasize a situation, because ultimately, from experience, it comes back to bite you in the ass. And I think the best thing you can do is to be honest and to be genuine and just be passionate about something.
Do you know what I'm picking up here, and let's talk about it quickly. Short term versus long term. So short term, you could have made a lot of money fighting the Iranian Hulk, and you thought long term. Short term, you were depressed, but you set goals for the long term. Short term, you could cash in and sell some stuff you don't believe in, but you thought about your reputation for the long term. So would you say you're a long term thinker, and is that an element of success?
Yes, I think so now, especially, but I think children changes that. Subconsciously, I think it does, because you're like, okay, what I make this year is great, but what can I make in 10 years' time? And that's probably what's changed me a lot in the last couple of years, is trying to create businesses that have longevity in them, and on the understanding that you can't build a building on sand, and you've got to make sure you've got the concrete in place, and the foundations have to be solid. And if you build the foundations on something that's any less than that, it's going to crumble. And like you said, you can make a lot of money short term, but long term, you're going to be absolutely stuffed. So I think that's definitely, in my subconscious when I'm making these decisions. And ultimately, I'm not massively a greedy person. I'd rather feel that I'm doing the right thing, and I do think that pays off in the long term.
Would you rather work out with Arnold Schwarzenegger or Dwayne Johnson, and why?
Probably Dwayne. I have actually worked out with Dwayne before.
Can we talk about some of your tattoos?
Let's go for it. Be a quick one. Don't mean anything.
Some of them must mean something.
Yeah. So
or why you got them.
Yeah. So I think the why would be because I was so low at the point of having them that I just didn't like myself, didn't like where I was, didn't like what I was doing, was fed up of the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I just wanted to be different and change. And, I had these 20 years ago where it wasn't as common to have tattoos 20 years ago. I'd gone a very quick one about my past. Played professionally for Warwickshire, played for England, high level cricket, which is a very affluent sport, very well-to-do people. Then from there, I had that mini breakdown, went into the training a bit more, joined the police, was a school teacher, didn't like that. It was just the police was just paperwork. It wasn't anything like I expected it to. The school teaching it was okay, but it wasn't for me. The biggest problem I had with the teaching at schools was it was PE teacher, and 50% of the kids wanted to be there and 50% didn't want to be there, and that for me was just, I can't be around negativity, and if someone doesn't want to do something, I don't want to be around it. Obviously as a school teacher, you can't just tell them to go away. So for me, I sort of fell out of love with that very quickly. And then I was lost, and I was like, I want to try and create something and be someone that I enjoy being, rather than just working for the sake of working and paying a bill for the sake of paying a bill. I actually want to enjoy my life, and what do I want to be and what do I want to do? And then this is when I had the idea of creating just something completely different and being almost my own billboard that stood out and was, boom, I'm here. And the combination of shaving my hair off, having the tattoos, growing the muscles, it worked so well at the time for the fitness side for what I was doing. But this is going back 15 years when social media didn't exist. It was fitness in a gym. It was fitness, real one-to-one people, skills and meeting real people. And it made me stand out so much that I was like, this is actually quite cool. I used to do personal protection work. I used to do bodyguard work. And it didn't really affect any of that. If anything, it kind of helped create this sort of standoffish persona, which played real well. So the tattoos, the why was for that, was to create something different. The meaning behind them, a lot of it is family orientated, to be fair. We've got like my birthmark here, we've got all my families around there, we've got my initials here, the I for the protector. And so it's very much the tattoos and the stories behind the tattoos and what the actual meanings of some of these tattoos means is like the man of the house, the protector, the provider, the dad, the rock. That's what the initial tattoos mean. And then the tattoo I've recently had on my back was it's actually a picture of my face, which has been recreated into kind of like a devil-looking thing. And for me, the meaning of that was there's two sides to a personality. So it's the same as me like being a Gemini. You have the nice me and you have the horrible me, and it just depends on.
Can you take the horrible you back up? When you don't bring it in.
It might have stayed down.
I have to say, when you squared off with the whole, you looked fucking scary.
I do have a switch.
It fucking scared me looking at you, looking at him.
Yeah, I do have a switch. Like, I am very chilled and placid, but there's always a breaking point, and I definitely have. I think in a past life, I was definitely a fighter of some sort, whether that be a warrior or something. I 100% have that in me, and that's with the fighting side. Anyone that's seen me train, anyone that's seen me fight, I enjoy that. I really do, and there is definitely a switch where I can turn from being chilled into being horrible, but I do have control with that as well.
What flicks that switch?
Element of there's two things. One, it will be anything to do family wise. 100% that'll just come on straight away. Not so much the wife, more the kids. One, that's like a protective switch, which is something that could go from 0 to 100 in this room.
Yeah.
But that would have to be such as their message. It would have to be something that would make any dad switch. Do you know what I mean? But there would be a very instant switch to something that's going to give you a lot of trouble. Or a competitive situation in a sports environment, and that'll be it. Then it can be in the weights room, it can be on the treadmill, it can be and there'll be something that flicks in my head that I just have to win. And that's probably more dangerous than the angry switch, because that ability to switch and no matter what, at no cost, you're going to win, is something that is composed energy rather than angry energy. Angry energy burns out very quick, whereas composed energy is quite dangerous, and it's that mixture. But I think most sportsmen people have that, 100%. Anyone that's successful in sports has to have that switch where they can sort of tap into this, almost like a superpower. It sounds really cheesy, but it is almost like a superpower in the sense that it's relentless. And you just keep going and keep going and keep going, and it doesn't matter what's in your weights, it's going to be moved. And I think any sports person will understand what I mean by that.
Does that not scare you that beast is inside you that you might not be able to control one day?
No, I've not really. I mean, I've had a few times where it's sort of sparked out, but I've never had anything that would worry me at all. I am quite a placid person. I think any red-blooded male who enjoys fighting and enjoys training and will have that. It's just how you control it that's important. And ultimately, if someone does do something that requires that to switch, then they've brought that on themselves. As far as I'm concerned, if someone threatens my kids or threatens my family and into a sense where it's fight or flight, hopefully for me, it would be something that you could, people would understand.
Ever any regrets of having tattoos on your face?
No, never.
I love what you said about, well, I'll never be able to get a job.
No.
That's decision made, isn't it? It's like, because you can't exactly hide it under your collar.
Do you know what? And I think that's the best thing ever. I went to a good school. I had some very good friends growing up. And the irony is that the kids who were actually the clever kids at the school are now stuck in a wage bracket that they can't afford to get out of because they've never took that risk in life. They've always done the safe job that pays well. So you're talking the wage bracket 60 to 80,000, whether it's a doctor or a teacher or great jobs, unbelievable jobs. But then there's always a cap, and they've never been able to break that cap. And now they're in the mid 30s, 40s, and they've got children, they've got a mortgage, they've got a life that they're comfortable with. They're too scared to go backwards to risk losing it all. And they're never going to be able to break out doing what they're doing. They get trapped. And for me, it was kind of the best thing that ever happened to me because I gambled at a point where I had nothing to lose. So I've done the gambling, I had nothing to lose, and it's worked. Whereas now, if I was 40 years old, no tattoos, and I was doing a job that was paying 60,000 a year, and I was happy, but I wasn't really, I was content but not happy. Would I take the risk of trying to recreate myself at 40 with children to feed and a mortgage to pay? No, I wouldn't. So I think having that at an age where I already had sort of lost everything anyway and gambled, it didn't give me a choice to sit back. I had to do something, and I had to be proactive, and I have to bring money to the table with me. That's it. I can't rely on anyone else to pay my bills. If I'm not doing it, no one else is doing it. And that all of a sudden, that takes you back to a very animalistic time where it's eat or be eaten, and it drives you forward. And I think that's what keeps me ambitious and constantly on the push to be more successful.
Where did your name Nightmare come from?
A film. So I did a film called Undisputed, which was quite a big film, like underground. And the character was called Koshmar. But in the translation to English, it means the nightmare. And it just stuck. And it hasn't been a bad thing to stick. But I think that's also where the title, The World's Scariest Man, comes from, and all of that. Which again are two very great, names to be associated with, especially when you're in the fight world or the film world where you're 9 times out of 10 playing the bad guy. It's not you're typecast, but I kind of don't mind. Problem with questions around performance enhancing drugs, others, it's a very awkward subject. Do I believe they can be used for the good? Yes, 100%. Science proves that, right? Do I believe in the wrong hands they're dangerous? Yes, 100%. Every day proves that.
Should we do a would you rather round?
Let's go for it.
We came up with a would you rather round. We've never done this before.
Go on then.
But let's give this a go. All right then. So you can only choose one. You can't choose both. So would you rather be as mad into fitness as you are, but your acting career has gone, or be a huge, successful actor, but never be able to do any fitness again?
Oh, that's a difficult one. Probably the fitness, to be honest, which is scary because it wouldn't pay as much. Fitness was my first passion, and to be honest, it's fitness is so much more than just going to the gym for me. It actually, if I couldn't do fitness, I don't think I could do film. I really don't. I don't think I'd be able to feel me, be relaxed, be confident. I'd just lose me. And for that reason, I'd say fitness.
Okay. Would you rather fight Eddie Hall for 10 million or Thor for 3 million, and why?
Eddie, because he's an idiot. I know,
he's your mate, isn't he?
Yeah. But money's money. Yeah. I'd fight Eddie for 10 million, 100%.
Yeah. Great. Would you rather work out with Arnold Schwarzenegger or Dwayne Johnson, and why?
Probably Dwayne. I have actually worked out with Dwayne before. We've never, not together, we're literally like this far apart in Vegas, training at the same gym at the same time. Only I'd say Dwayne purely because I do think we are very similar on a lot of things, and I also love his work ethic. I think he's very ambitious, very focused, and very humble. And to be honest, he trains harder than Arnold would now, so it'd be a better session.
If you could only ever own Lamborghinis or only ever own Ferraris, which one and why?
Well, as we're both car guys, I think you know exactly which one I'm going to pick, and it would be because I could drive it.
Yeah, because I can get in it. Yeah.
Yes. So Ferrari.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather be filthy rich but you're a skinny vegan, or working class but you're a hench carnivore?
Working class.
So you're not broke, but you're never going to have much money, but you can be a hench carnivore like you are, or filthy rich skinny vegan.
Yeah, no, I'd rather have meat.
I don't know if these questions are any good, but my son always used to ask me, when he was 7 years old, would you rather have feet for hands or hands for feet?
Hands for feet.
Why is that?
Well, you can cover them.
All right. Okay. Let's do a have you ever round. Have you ever taken ayahuasca?
No.
No. Okay. Have you ever thought about it?
No.
No. Oh, okay. Great.
I have no idea what he's on about.
You know when you go to the Amazon and you have this mind-opening
Right, okay.
trip?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. No. Okay, fine. That was
one
your
of-
question, Harry.
Was that one of your son's questions?
That was his question. Yeah. Actually, I want to talk about hate on social media
Yep.
in its own section because it's obviously a big thing. But have you ever hated on someone or trolled someone on social?
I don't think so. I may have been proven wrong, but I don't think I have. I hate people who are on, some people who are on social media, don't get me wrong. But I've never actually gone out there and put stuff on that I remember, no.
Okay.
What are you going to say I have now?
No. Just some people need it. I think. I don't like to be a troll or a hater, but sometimes doesn't something need to be called out if it's bullshit?
Yeah, I agree with that. I also don't have time.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I'm so busy in life that I try and stay on social media as little as I need to be. And looking at other people isn't something that really bothers me in a sense where I feel the need to comment on their stuff. I agree 100% that they should be called out, but we also spoke about this earlier with what's the point?
Yeah.
Are they really going to be that concerned? Are they really going to make a difference? Is Boris going to listen to what you're saying? Who's ultimately been affected more by your discouragement of someone? If you're spending hours a day and they're not even looking at it, for me, I haven't got that free time to do it. I agree with platforms who speak out about stuff that needs to be spoken out about. I think that's definitely. But for me, there's no one or no thing that I see more important than spending time with my kids. And that's ultimately where the time comes from.
Have you ever filtered a photo of yourself on social media?
Oh God, yes.
I actually haven't. I don't know how to use one.
I think there's two different ways of looking at the filters for me. If you put on a bit of colour and you just take away like the fact that you look like you haven't slept for 7 days, I don't see a massive issue with that. When you start changing angles and start increasing arm size and leg size, that for me is something that's ridiculous. But just putting on a filter that makes it look like it's sunny outside and not pissing down the rain, I don't think there's a problem with that one. And I think the reality is a lot of people clean up photos on social media. The people who are making the serious money also have control of the media.
Yeah.
So they'll tell you whatever they need to tell you to sell you the product. 99% fat free. That's great, but it's full of fucking sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar free. Well, yeah, it's a fucking avocado, you dickhead. Do you know what I mean? Of course it's sugar free.
Have you ever taken steroids?
No.
What do you think of steroids?
No. I should no comment.
Yeah. Okay. Fair
For
enough.
me, the steroid situation is a very difficult one to go into because it's like me asking you, have you ever done cocaine? Have you ever smoked marijuana? Have you ever drank excessively? Have you ever drank excessively?
Yes.
So would you classify yourself as a bad person?
No.
Could it potentially be a bad thing to do?
Yes. Good people do bad things.
I don't necessarily think it's a good or a bad thing.
And I'm not trying to angle you as a bad person.
For me, my problem with questions around performance enhancing drugs are it's a very awkward subject because do I believe they can be used for the good? Yes, 100%. Science proves that, right? Do I believe in the wrong hands they're dangerous? Yes, 100%. Every day proves that. The issue with people openly talking about drugs, especially steroids, from someone who's a fitness person on social media is that young, impressionable kids will listen to an answer and take from it what they want. They won't do the research, they won't do the blood testing, they won't do the training first for 5 years by eating healthy and then hitting your genetic potential. Oh, well, so if Bodybuild took steroids and he's successful, that makes sense for me to take steroids. I just think it's a very difficult question to answer and to be subjective and to also give it the time it requires and also be responsible as an adult, someone who has been through depression, been through very dark times. I'm not stupid. I understand the benefits of steroids 100%. I also understand that the majority of steroids on the market are black because you can't buy them legally. The majority of steroids on the market are therefore most likely fake or made in someone's house, which make them extremely dangerous. Legalized steroids in countries are also extremely dangerous because the majority of people taking them don't understand how to take them properly. I think there's a massive problem with steroids. I think there's a huge problem with steroids in the fitness industry. I think it's something that needs to be looked at. I think it's something that is only going to get worse while social media is how it is, because people cannot achieve the physiques they want naturally. I don't care what people say. There's 2 or 3% of genetically gifted people, and then the rest will always be chasing that look. And there's no way you can look like a fitness influencer without drugs. I can look at 100 athletes and I can tell you 99% how mmany are or aren't on drugs. It's not hard to say. And that's why for me it's a question that if you're looking at people's pictures, if you're in the fitness industry, you know the answer. Do you think Dwayne takes steroids?
I'm not in the fitness industry, but looking at him, I'm like, probably yes. And I didn't even know what trend was until 2 days ago. Sorry, 2 weeks ago.
That's kind of like saying, do you enjoy a drink of alcohol? Yeah, I like a glass of wine, or you going, yeah, I'll have 7 bottles of Jack Daniels. Trend is like one of the most potent, most dangerous.
I only heard of it 2 weeks ago, and as you can see, I'm not a steroid.
No, I definitely wouldn't have said you were.
Should we do a would you rather on that?
But for me, it's a subject that...
Is it not good? By the way, thank you for talking about it.
Yeah.
Surely it's a good thing if you can educate people on the risks and the dangers.
I do think education on steroids is very important, and it's something that needs to be looked at. And I think it's not
By the way, does Dwayne Johnson take steroids?
I don't know.
Oh. But you said you look at 99% of them and you think you could tell. Would you say he does?
I don't need to answer the question. He's the most famous, one of the most famous actors in Hollywood, and I love him to pieces. I think he's a great guy.
Well. Yeah.
I think he's a brilliant guy, and he trains ridiculously hard, and he's worked every second for his physique. I mean, if he's natural, he's fucking gifted. But I wouldn't say anything about him by doing it or not doing it. The only issue I have with people taking steroids is when it's in a sports setting and you're not allowed. I think that's not fair. Do I think sports people take steroids? Yes. Whether, depending on what is classified as a steroid, in the sense that there's different things that they'll do. It's just medication in sports.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. And when people dedicate their whole lives to being successful and can't win, and you're telling someone you take one tablet, you'll win, are you going to take that tablet if you've always failed? Of course you will.
Yeah.
We sports people want to win it. Do you know what I mean? This is what people don't understand. It's any means necessary. How many business people do dodgy dealings to jump up the ladder?
Yeah.
Exactly the same as taking steroids
Well,
in sports.
I don't come from the standpoint of taking steroids moral judgment. I don't actually look at it like that. Just look at it as a thing someone does.
Yeah, for me...
Or doesn't do.
For me, the whole steroid thing is something that the problem is you've got people who aren't educated on it, making an opinion on it. That's the biggest issue. Now, there's obviously a lot of health issues associated with it as well. But then there's a difference between having a glass of wine on a weekend and having 5 bottles of wine on a weekend. Yeah. In the sense that when you hit a certain age, 30 plus, 40 plus, taking TRT, which is testosterone replacement treatment, if your testosterone levels coming down, do the research on that. It's so beneficial to health. It's ridiculous, but that's like that much compared to your 15-year-old kid who's starting the gym taking that much. That's the problem. And the problem is thinking that steroids are the be all and end all of training, and when they're really not. they're genuinely not. You know, I can sit here hand on heart and say, now I'm clean. I'm great. I feel amazing. When you're in a bodybuilding environment and so on, I don't think it's a question that's double loaded, and it's a very awkward subject to talk about. And I come from a standpoint where I'd rather a professional talk about it, a doctor who can give good advice to kids who are very impressionable, and a stage where I think us as adults have created it for them, if I'm honest, through media and social media, and made them feel not good enough by looking normal, that they feel the need to have to look a certain way. So I think it's a question that should be asked on a 2-hour-long podcast with professionals in the room.
Yeah.
But not just professionals on medication, professionals on mind, depression, anxiety, what leads people to taking steroids. You've got the sports side, you've also then got the side of people that hate themselves. You know, some people can't stand the way they look, so they want to create a different persona. Does that make that person a bad person? That they're suicidal because they feel like shit, knowing that if they were to get into a gym and put a bit of muscle on, they might have a bit more self-confidence. Does that make them a bad person? I don't think it makes them a bad person. I think it makes them an unhappy person.
Yeah.
And then they're getting judgment on the back end of that. It's a very difficult question to answer for me from where I stand.
It's really good that you talk about this. I know it's a taboo subject, but it's really
It's so
good.
difficult to me because of the cancel policy.
Yeah.
It's like, I did a podcast with Brian, I spoke about it quite openly. Fuck me, the backlash I got from that was horrendous.
Brian Rose, was it?
Yeah, it was a lovely podcast, and
Yeah.
it was talking about the impact of steroids and the side effects of steroids and the worrying about kids taking steroids. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not prepared to risk my acting career on trying to help people that ain't gonna fucking listen anyway. They won't thank you for it.
No.
But the reality is definitely an issue with it.
But knowing why people take them, that's
what
good
you need.
Chat.
That's the real conversation. Is are you taking it to cheat? Or are you taking it because you're so fucking down that you don't see another? And how long have you trained for?
21 years.
And how many results have you got?
You said it yourself. I've always been scared to eat enough food, I think, but that was all really helpful.
I think a lot of people do. I mean, I had anorexia, for Christ's sake, so I understand.
Well, it's inspiring to see someone who can put size on who's had that.
It's. I think the biggest thing with eating disorders amongst people is not understanding what it does, especially when eating has affected you up here.
I actually do want to put on a little bit of muscle.
Go on. Train.
Train. Yeah, see.
That was a joke.
Round 2 in a year when I'm 60. Like, this is freaking embarrassing, but I've trained on and off since I was like 21, so for 22 years, and I've not really put on any muscle, so I'm doing something wrong. So could you give a couple of tips on someone like me? I'm 40 odd, and I'd like to get a bit bigger. I'm not obsessed about it, but I'd like to get a bit bigger. What should I do?
For me, it's just be basic. Go back to basics. Understand your macros, which is your foods. Make sure that you're eating enough of the 3 nutrients you need, which is the fats, the proteins, the carbs. Don't overeat protein. A lot of people overeat protein, undereat carbs. Train hard, train smart, don't overtrain. Do the lifts that are going to be most challenging. And try and change it up so your body doesn't know what's coming. Don't obsess with weight training when trying to put muscle on, which sounds weird. For me, at our age, because you're a few years older than me.
Only 3.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you're a few years older. I'd look at doing all over body workouts.
Yeah.
Reducing the time in the gym, increasing the recovery time, staying hydrated, and being healthy as well. A lot of people don't understand the importance of cardio in order to add muscle. Because ultimately you need a powerful heart to fuel the workouts.
Right.
So being smart, being selective with the exercises, and making sure that you consume the right foods is essential. It's just like growing a flower. If you try and grow a flower in concrete and don't water and feed it, it's not going to grow. You've bought a seed, but the seed won't flourish. So what you do outside the gym is more important sometimes than what you're doing inside the gym.
What constitutes overtraining? Like, when do you get to the point where it's detrimental?
That's where tracking your training really helps. And the average person overtraining, you're talking 45 minutes to 60 minutes of hard work, and then maybe 4 times a week for the average person that's not taking any supplementation, let's say. That makes a massive difference. With the easiest way to spot overtraining is irritability, tiredness, lack of motivation, and lack of results. So if you were to keep like a training diary of every day, how do you feel before you go into the gym? How do you feel in the gym? Are you requiring caffeine or pre-workouts to get the workout going? And that gives you an indication if you're overtraining or not.
And 4 times a week, you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how much free time you've got to train.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just the free time you've got to train as in like, okay, I've got 4 hours a week I can sacrifice. It's how much do you sleep? How much do you rest? What's your stress levels like? Because all of these will play into your ability to grow muscle.
And should you do like compound over isolated?
Yes, depending on injuries.
Because that's one of the reasons why I've never really progressed that much, is because I progress and then I get an injury and I have to stop for 3 to 6 months.
That could be because you're not training from the core.
Right.
In the sense that everything else gets stronger. It's like having a Lamborghini with Fiesta brakes. Eventually their brakes are going to give. So do you do joint work? Do you do core work? Do you do stretching, mobility, flexibility? Check your hydration levels? Yes, no?
No.
Lamborghini, Fiesta brakes.
Yeah.
It's going to break.
Yeah.
So and also periodization training. So you could periodize your training. So you go through a segment of strength, a segment of hypertrophy, segment of anatomical adaptation. Then you might go back into conditioning, and it's breaking it down to stages so you're not constantly overloading the system.
Yeah.
And also overloading the system, you know, you get a point then where you become catabolic, so you're not able to grow because your body's always tired.
Right.
So sometimes understimulating the muscles is a great way to grow muscle. I know a lot of people think you've got to constantly burn them out. And this goes back to the question about steroids. People don't know this, but they're willing to take a tablet to get them strong because they think that tablet's going to give them the knowledge that 5 years at university has given me to understand how to grow muscle. That's the frustrating thing about, well, what do you reckon about steroids?
Yeah.
It's like that much of that much. So understand how to train, how to eat, how to rest, how to recover. You go through different therapies for recovery. There's different ways to recover. There's so much you can do and you need to do to get the look that you want. And it's not that you're never going to get there because you haven't got the genetics. It's more a case of what we spoke about being successful as a business person. You need to go back and understand the reasons. Right, why haven't you done this? Why can't you do that? Why hasn't that worked? Well, it hasn't worked because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, if I implement X, Y, and Z, I'll get a different outcome. And that's probably all you need to do. Go back and address, right, what have I done? What haven't I done? Why has it worked? Why hasn't this worked? And start to track. Does split training work? Does forced reps work? Does supersets work? What does your body adapt to? What foods do you adapt to? It's the same as anything in life. Just because you're somewhere, just because we're in this room, it doesn't mean we're going to have a successful podcast.
Yeah.
The fact that you've researched me and you've put questions on, you've got that makes it something that potentially could be a good podcast. Same as a training. Just because you're in the gym, if you don't understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, doesn't mean you're going to get the results. You've just turned up. Turning up is not adequate.
Yeah. So I don't want to make this about me, but I want to nick the opportunity while you're here to ask. So I think one of the reasons I've never really got that much bigger is because I was the fattest kid in my year at school for 3 years. And I've got quite a weird relationship with food. I lost all the weight basically out of hate for myself and, you know, not being accepted by everyone. And I just don't eat much food. And I've just got this big trigger whereby I just daren't eat a load of food in case I put on a bit round there. So, like I'm 30-inch waist, and if I get above 32, it's a trigger to like, oh, I'm going to get fat, and I just like don't eat in the day.
And then you know the weirdest thing about that, your anxiety created by food will stop you growing muscle.
Right.
Anxiety is one of the worst things that you can have for when it comes to the body. The body needs to be relaxed and in a very nice state for it to grow. Your testosterone also has to be very relevant. I mean, for the biggest thing I think for you, which would help, would be to understand. If you understand food, you understand how food works, you understand how different macros and micronutrients work, you can then accept it on your plate. The biggest problem with people who create eating disorders is actually the lack of knowledge of what they're eating. So all of a sudden they'll say, oh, there's carbs there. I know carbs are going to make me fat because I remember reading that. And I remember that high protein diets are great because it doesn't cause as much fat. And the reality is carb diets hold water, which is why you go a bit fat. It's not fat, it's water. But to you, you'll feel chunky. Now, if you go through periodization training where you're doing a strength phase and a hypertrophy phase, you're going to want a higher macro split of carbs because you're going to want the energy to build the muscle, to break the fibers down. If you're having a high protein diet during a strength phase, you won't have the energy to build. And this is where people go wrong. And you obviously enjoy bodybuilding. So you'll see off season, you'll see season. Now the off season is a tendency where bodybuilders will come off cycle, so they'll be a bit chunkier, but they'll also increase the carb intake so they can train harder and keep the muscle mass. If you keep a high level of carbs, you'll be able to retain more muscle, right? Which is why off season, bodybuilders are going through that stage. For you, if you have an idea of how muscular you want to get, use that.
Some muscle.
Yeah. let's say 4 pound. 4 pound of lean muscle, right? Which is a lot. 4 pound of lean muscle is a lot. So if you have a phase of something between 6 to 8 weeks, which is a combination of strength and hypertrophy, which you're looking at a switch between 4 to 6 reps and then 8 to 12 reps to get the maximum amount of stimulation of the muscles, and you make sure that you're fueling those workouts, and don't worry too much about the water weight, because water weight can be lost in 3 days. Right, and that's probably what you're feeling is just water weight. If you get yourself a machine where you can read your body fat levels, you might be able to accept it more then that, okay, I'm not getting fat, it's just water, but on the back end of this water coming in, that's what's actually fueling the workouts to grow the muscle. Then when I switch to the endurance or to the anatomical adaptation, which is basically what you need to do to stop getting injuries. So anatomical adaptation allows you to bring the intensity down, but keeps the muscle stimulated while the joints, the ligaments and the tendons catch up with the muscle. So what you've been doing is doing the muscle growth, but then not allowing the ligaments and tendons to catch up to be strong enough to hold that muscle, which is why you get injured.
Right.
And your diet's probably not right.
Yeah.
I'd say your fats
definitely don't eat enough.
I'd say your fats aren't good enough.
Right.
Because the fats will lubricate the joints.
Yeah.
I'd say your protein's probably a little bit too high. I'd say your carbs are not good enough.
I've always been scared to eat enough food, I think, but that was all really helpful.
I think a lot of people do. I mean, I had anorexia for Christ's sake, so I understand.
Well, it's inspiring to see someone who can put size on who's had that.
It's. I think the biggest thing with eating disorders amongst people is not understanding what it does, especially when eating has affected you up here.
Yeah.
And you've had bullying because of the back end of it, and you've felt terrible because of it. It will automatically bring a trigger. I mean, I don't know how much you understand about the way the brain works with food and with...
Not very well. No.
So, right, imagine this is the first time imagine that's a piece of chocolate, and you have that chocolate and you feel fucking great off it. That'll leave a trigger in your brain that will always make you feel great. No matter what, that's going to make you feel good. Now, if you come home from work and you have a shit day and you feel crap, your body's not saying I'm hungry, your body's saying I need to feel nice.
That's exactly what I do.
Fuck me, I know that's going to make me feel great for about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's your brain's triggering happiness with chocolate or crisps or fast food because it has the triggers, the insulin trigger and the sugar trigger will give you a fast release. But the problem with that is it also drop you as well. And it becomes something that your brain releases chemicals to make you feel good. But the problem is what's making you feel good is actually the root cause to you feeling bad.
Yeah.
And it's re-educating your brain, and it's re-educating yourself on what makes you feel good and what doesn't make you feel good. So a lot of people who yo-yo diet, for instance, can only be successful because they absolutely eliminate everything out of their life, but they'll always go back because they can never do that. Do you know what I mean? They can never just say, right, I'm not doing it. Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible. So it's about educating yourself with food and also educating yourself with how the brain works around food and how the brain works and stimulates appetite, how water stimulates appetite. A lot of people eat when they're not hungry, they're actually dehydrated.
Yeah.
And it's just understanding that. And if you can understand food, especially as an educated person, you'll build a better relationship with food. And it's not just about, you know, how you look. A lot of people, especially in this day and age, have issues with food because there's so much shit in food. You know, 80% of what most people eat has got all sorts of chemicals in there.
Yeah, my wife's well on that, which is really good. She's all over that.
Yeah, it's brilliant, especially for the kids.
Yeah.
The problem becomes when you can't afford to be all over it.
Yeah, because it is bloody expensive.
It's expensive to eat organic and to eat fresh and to you know, to eat healthy nowadays is twice as expensive as not.
Yeah. Yeah, what I find as well is what media taught me was healthy. Like, media was teaching you that Diet Coke was healthy when it came out.
It's horrendous.
I drank Diet Coke all the way through my big diet, and I drank Diet Coke for 20 years. It's called Diet Coke. You know, I actually realised the opposite effect it has.
Yeah, horrendous.
Yeah, and like take fat out of your diet, and then you'll lose fat.
Yeah.
And no,
it doesn't work at all. It's, you know, it's like I said, it's about educate. The problem is the same as what we touched about earlier with Nestle. You know, the people who are making the serious money also have control of the media.
Yeah.
So they'll tell you whatever they need to tell you to sell you the product. 99% fat free. That's great, but it's full of fucking sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sugar free. Well, yeah, it's a fucking avocado, you dickhead. Do you know what I mean? Of course it's sugar free. And they'll just market a keto diet or a whatever diet, and they'll advertise shit, knowing that there'll be a trigger in your brain that will say, oh, that means I can eat that. The best one is the keto diet, and people are eating like a chicken breast. So, do you understand? Do you understand the keto diet?
Vaguely, yeah.
Right. So the keto diet is high fat diet.
Yeah.
But people mistake that with a high protein diet. So they'll be having all of their high fat with a chicken breast, which is fucking 30 grams of protein. I'm like, mate, you're only supposed to be having 4 grams of fucking whatever it works out at. Yeah, but it's not carbs. It doesn't matter. You're not on a fucking, like, you're supposed to be on a high fat diet.
Yeah.
You try finding foods that are just high fat, good luck.
Yeah.
It's absolutely impossible, and it's trying to understand food and trying to understand how to eat healthy. It's not difficult.
Do all these diets that take out one whole food group, are they just really fads then?
100%. They're like
How do you take a whole food group
Because
out?
it then limits your choices, which limits your calories.
Yeah.
Because how often do you want to go and eat just plain chicken breast?
No.
If I was to give you a chicken and cabbage diet, it would work.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I don't want any more chicken. You can't eat anything else, fine, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'll just drink water.
Yeah.
Limit your choices, limit your calories, bring down your fat, but your vitamin, minerals deficiency would be horrendous, be through the roof. Your ability, well, your relationship with food would be horrendous.
Yeah.
Because you'll look at stuff, I can't eat that, I fucking hate that. And then all you'll be thinking about is that food. Because your body's saying, you need to fucking eat. I can't. And then you create eating disorder.
Yeah. Fuck. Thanks for just showing my life in front of me there. Yeah, it's all from
scary,
when I was
isn't it?
fucking 11 years old.
Yeah, 100%, and it comes.
Carry it with you your whole life.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. That's the problem. It's when you ask me the question about steroids, it's the same thing.
Why I've done well in business is because for 16 years I've done business every day.
Yeah.
Every day. But training, I've trained for 4 months, got an injury. Trained for 3 months, got bored. Trained for 6 months, got a missus. Trained for 9 months, got kids, and I've got quite good results quite quick. And then back to zero. Boredom.
You can train for 6 months, stop for a week, and lose everything.
Yeah,
And that's the fucking crazy part about it.
Yeah.
It's the most addictive and the most unforgiving sport there is.
Yeah.
It really is. Which is why I've gone back into fighting, because I don't care what I look like now.
Yeah.
But I never really
But
did.
you've got a good base though, haven't
I've got a
you?
great base,
Yeah.
and, you know, I look healthy and I look great and I feel great, but it's not the be all and end all of me now.
No.
It's like, oh, you've got, well, how big are your biceps? I don't fucking know. I don't
Probably
care.
much more healthy for you.
100%.
Because when does it stop?
Well, this is the irony. I've gone into a fighting world and it's the healthiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't be that big.
Can't beat it. Well, my
No.
stomach exploded about 4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I had an operation when I was a baby. I had an interception, and then the scar tissue had built up. It had nothing to do with the food. I actually eat really well. It was scar tissue from an operation. It dislodged, and it blocked my stomach back up, and it exploded. So I had emergency surgery, and they took out half of my bowel and 12 inches of small intestine. So that impacted me massively on how big I could be.
Yeah.
So that for me was kind of a turning point. It was like, well, I've gone from being 25, 26 stone back down to fucking 13 stone because of this operation. This was only 4 or 5 years ago. And then I was told I'd never be able to train properly again, I'd never be able to eat properly again, blah, blah, blah. Might have to have a bag and all this shit. Thank God, nothing has really changed. I've got one slight issue with my shoulder because my bone structures changed slightly from where they had to cut through my muscles. So they cut through my stomach and my obliques, which changes the way that the muscles sit. So it's pulled my skeletal system forward slightly. So I can't shoulder press anymore, but everything else is fine. So for me, that was a point where I was like, right, I need to change now because I don't want to go back into bodybuilding and have to put 10 stone back on and risk, now I understand it more, risk my life to try and get back to where I was. So that's when I changed, right, I'm going to change the way I look, I'm going to change the way I train, I'm going to change my mindset. I want to get back into a sport where it's about the sport and not about how you look.
Yeah.
So that really did save my life, which is weird really, because something that should have killed me actually saved me.
Yeah.
But it's part of life's journey. Is, you know, going through things that test you and change you. I nearly died twice. I've had cancer on my head when I was a kid. So, you know, I've been through the wars. I really have been through stuff that I think when you go through it, it makes you a lot stronger as a person. But I also don't like to dwell on that stuff as well. I think it sort of can bring negativity back in. Which I won't. You know what I'm like. Any negative people around me, I'll cut them off like that.
Yeah.
And I can be a cunt for that, can't I? I can be really bad.
Put cameras back on.
I literally tell them, I don't want you around.
Yeah.
I can't be around it.
But there's a fine balance, isn't there, between negativity but useful critical feedback.
I don't mind critical. I love critical feedback. I can take critical feedback. I can't take just negativity, energy, sappy energy. Like people, oh God, your life's shit. Life's this. Why? Oh, you wouldn't understand. Fucking hell, you tried dying nearly twice and having fucking cancer. I understand perfectly fine. It's just because you're in a good place now, they don't think.
No.
And I can't be around that energy.
It's like when they moan about the rain and then they moan it's too hot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I will not let anyone moan about the heat. I interrupt them and say, it's sunny, it's great.
But my hay fever.
We're allowed to moan about that.
Yes. But
The fighting, that's really helpful, thank you. Nice.
I'll send out that check.
Yeah, do it. Just send an invoice, do it, it's all good.
It's a remake of an Arnie film actually. It's gonna be
It's
gonna be massive. Like Warner Brothers and Legendary put a fucking huge budget
Which
behind
Arnie
it.
films are
Can't say.
okay.
But it's gonna be massive.
That's true. Twins, yeah, is it twins? The fighting, surely that's going to work really well with the acting, isn't
Yeah,
it?
100%. So
Some of the, like Arlovsky, I loved watching him fight Andrei Arlovsky in
Yeah.
UFC, and he got a couple of big roles, didn't he, off the back of his
yeah,
fighting?
well for me, because so this new film that I'm doing will be huge. Like it's a massive.
Are you
massive
playing
film.
all bad guys?
No, I don't even know what the character is. Have you seen the original?
Is it the one you filmed in Serbia?
Serbia's the Machine.
Yeah, Machine.
That's gonna be fucking brilliant. Well, you could have told me your second name. That film's gonna be brilliant. I've got a really good part in that. A really good part. The new one that I've just auditioned for, which fingers fucking crossed I get, is a remake of an Arnie film actually. But it's gonna be it's gonna be massive. Like Warner Brothers and Legendary put a fucking huge budget
Which
behind
Arnie
it.
films it?
Can't say.
Oh, okay.
But it's gonna be massive.
Well, they already remade Total Recall. I could probably work. I won't say anything, but yeah.
He's probably made out 300 films.
That's true. Twins, yeah, is it twins? No.
So this will be huge for me.
Yeah.
And I just hope that I get the opportunity to fight still. Because this will be 6 months, and obviously you can't fight.
No.
You can't even train to fight because you're on set fucking 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
So the way it's looking at the moment is the whole of July will be prep, which will be costumes, running through lines, working with the other actors, all the fight stuff which will need to choreography. And so a good month of prep, which will probably be in Greece, I'd imagine. And then we're shooting from August, September, October, November. So that's going to take me to Christmas from now.
Yeah.
And then I'll be out, then potentially I can do my fight training, but I'm going to have to fucking fight for another 3 or 4 months training to get ready to fight. So then you're looking at February, March. And the way things are going at the moment, there's so much film work keeps getting pushed in my way. And we can't say yes to everything because it needs to be forward steps, not backwards. So it's a bit of a waiting game at the moment, to be honest. But we've turned 3 films down this year so far, and this is the one we've accepted, so hopefully all fucking goes smoothly.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Awesome.
I need it. I need that for me. I need that opportunity to do something I enjoy doing, and challenging. That's why either the fighting or the films, but it has to be the right film. There's no point just doing the man that screams anymore. I'm done with that. I want to be lead actor, supporting lead, or not at all.
Yeah.
So it's been selective.
Did you do acting classes? You've been
I've
doing
done it,
that?
yeah. I've been 7 years. I've been in the industry now.
Yeah.
So I've done like 16, 17 films, 4 or 5 TV shows.
Wow.
So we've done a fair bit, and The Machine is a very good film. It was fucking hard because I had to have the Russian accent and I had to speak in Russian, which is very fucking difficult to do when you don't speak Russian.
Yeah.
Especially when it was sort of done within scenes, so I have to do stuff. There's a fight scene and I speak Russian halfway through the fight scene, and then there's a car scene where I'm driving the car and I slam the brakes, have to hit the fucking marker, jump out, get slapped, then deliver a load of lines in Russian. It's fucking difficult because you're trying to remember the lines, and then you're trying to find the fucking mark, and you still got the lines running through your head, and you work out there's some fucking woman slapping you, like fuck. Then you got to try and actually perform it in Russian. Yeah. So it's great challenges, but fucking difficult to. There's not much that can prepare you for it.
No.
The acting classes are great, but it's not challenging. It's very chilled. If we were to do acting lessons now, we could do it easy. Yeah. Shove yourself in front of 400 people and you get fucking lights on. You know that every time you fuck up, it's cost the production 10 grand. All of a sudden, that pressure's different. Yeah. It's a whole different scenario. So it's. I think the last 7 years has given me the platform to be confident to do it now. Yeah. So I just need the opportunities, but they're coming. Just got to pick the right ones and. Hopefully they're successful. Yeah? Yeah, that's the one. We'll see. We'll see. But I do want to do the fighting as well because I want to shut people up.
Yeah. As in,
people
watch.
I'm in the ring with you.
As in people who say you can't, show them that you can.
I only need one fight.
Yeah.
One fight. The 4 fights being offered, but the problem with the 4 fight is there's still issues with the fight between Eddie and Thor that needs to be resolved, like finances and bullshit.
Oh, sorry, the Thor fight's on, is it?
They've offered it me. Thor wants it, I want it.
Yeah.
So there's a potential there, but there's stuff that still needs to be sorted out from the last one between them two.
Have they got a rematch in the contract then? Or?
There's just a few legal shit that needs to go on between it.
Right.
So that's an opportunity that potentially could happen.
That'd be great for your
brand,
wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, you'll be. Yeah. I mean, I know you've got a great brand, but you'll just be fucking everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Thor can't fight either, which is great. He's good for where he was. Yeah, but he's not. It's not nasty.
No.
Soft.
Yeah.
Soft kid. I said that when I watched him. I went to Dubai and watched the fight. Have you seen the fight?
The one with Eddie. Yeah. Technically,
he's all right, but he's very slow. Yeah. And he's not nasty. Neither of them were. It was so disappointed I was.
Yeah. It's difficult when you are them and it's really an exhibition fight, isn't it?
Yeah, but they fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
If you hate someone, you step in, stand there and just swing. Get Get your Iranian there, fucking give him one.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I'll just rough him up.
Yeah.
Absolutely rough him up. And I think that's what people enjoy.
Yeah.
No one wants to see two people fight that can't fight.
No.
And by that I mean,
properly.
no one wants to see people try to fight properly that aren't proper fighters because
Yeah.
it's crap then.
Yeah.
It's like the whole excitement of exhibition is I want to see two guys scrap.
Yeah.
I just want to see you go at each other for 3 or 4 minutes and just blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Just give it 100%. Just go for a brawl.
Yeah.
No one wants to watch a street fight where they're jabbing and moving.
No.
So just get in here and have it off.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do. I'll probably get disqualified, but it'd be a good fight. Well, that's the plan. So either Fight 4 or KSW is on the cards. Which,
Yeah.
do you know KSW?
I don't know.
They're huge.
Are they?
Yeah, they've got their record attendance 88,000.
Wow.
They're massive.
Do you say it's European?
Yeah. So
Well, I mean,
Polar
fighting across Europe is
That's
massive,
huge.
isn't it?
Polish outfit, absolutely huge. They pulled 88,000. They've got the biggest ever MMA attendance in the history
Wow.
of the sport.
In the top 10, they got 6 of the top 10.
Yeah, of the
Really?
attendances. Yeah, they're huge. Absolutely
Right.
huge.
And is it cage fighting?
Cage fighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's mixed.
Yeah. I prefer that.
Do you?
100%.
You stand up or ground?
No, I'm good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Very, very good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I'll be good at. I think if I had the option to fight for boxing or fucking MMA all day long,
Yeah.
100%.
But would he do that?
No,
though?
he wouldn't.
No.
He wouldn't fight MMA.
No.
I've been offered a kickboxing fight as well, but I don't want to do kickboxing.
No.
Because it doesn't make sense for me to do kickboxing. I'm not trained at kickboxing.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing boxing, and I don't mind doing MMA, but I don't want to put myself into a fight just for the sake of doing the fight.
No.
I need to be. I don't want to embarrass myself. I want people to be like, fucking hell, fair play, you can scrap.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe MMA would be the better one for me because it would be I could show more of what I can do.
Yeah. And if you beat some actual fighters
Fire,
as well,
yeah,
then
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's more pride in that
Yeah.
than just beating 4. It's a great payday, but it's not. Because if
Take the
I
money.
beat 4,
Take the money though. You got 3 kids.
I'll take the
you
money.
got 3 kids.
100%, I'll take the money.
yeah.
But if I beat 4, people will still go, yeah, but he's not a fighter.
Yeah, but you know, I know you're well known, but you'll be known to a lot more people, and then you can open more doors.
It'd be
can't you?
great, yeah, you would
Yeah.
be great. But for the sports person in me, I'd rather fight
that's
a fighter.
true. You've got that purist sports
And
person
then go,
in you. Yeah.
fuck me, man, he's 40 and he's made his debut in MMA and he's battered a 25-year-old who's decent.
Yeah. And what do you think your fighting weight would be?
There's no weight on it, but I'd come in.
I mean, as in what-
I'd come in about 142, 143 kilo,
And what are you now?
about 145.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to cut a load of weight or anything.
So my fitness is good, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah.
Fitness is really good. I think if I dropped weight for MMA, it would actually be detrimental.
Yeah.
Because I need the weight for the ground and wrestling.
Yeah.
And I definitely try and go to ground.
Yeah.
It makes sense. My legs are so powerful and I'm flexible as well.
Yeah.
When I get a lock on, it's difficult to. I smother people well.
Yeah.
Very well smother people. But if I was to be too light, it would. I'm fighting heavyweights, so I don't want to give away too much. So yeah, it'd be interesting. Boxing wise, I'd probably come down to about 136, 137.
Yeah.
Just to be lighter on my feet, because it's more of a fitness sport than strength.
Yeah.
Whereas MMA is more strength involved. So it's a fine line.
Yeah.
But either of them would be good for me.
Yeah. Exciting seeing your career grow.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah. I want to get back in just want to feel that sports side for once more.
Yeah.
And then I can tick that off the box, done it.
Yeah.
Not many people can say I fought in front of 30,000 people.
No, that's true. And when you're 50 and 60, you can still act and do all that other stuff.
100%,
but you won't
yeah.
be able to do the sport, will you?
Probably not at 60, maybe at like 50.
What, MMA at 50?
Yeah, man.
Randy Couture over here.
I feel great. I'm 40 now, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
Feel absolutely amazing. And the thing is for me as well, I'm not bringing fighting injuries into the cage.
Right.
That's a big reason why people stop fighting.
Yeah.
It's not because they're not fit enough, it's because they've got broken retinas and do you know what I mean? It's like they can't fight because things are broke. Doesn't mean they haven't got the fitness or the actual heart to still fight.
Yeah.
So but obviously at the same time you don't really want to be smashing your skull at the age of 45. So it's trying to find that happy medium of I will definitely get one done there. I need to do one for me.
Yeah.
Whether it's paying 50,000 or million, whatever it pays, just for me to say I've done it.
Yeah, those celebrity boxing's crazy money, isn't it?
It is crazy, but there's also a side of it that you don't see, is that the numbers that get flashed out there aren't being fucking paid.
No.
There's a lot of the fighters who haven't been paid. Never got paid. Mayweather hasn't paid him yet.
Really? I know there was that talk. I didn't know if that was true.
I am a very normal person at heart, and someone who's lived a very eventful life. He's someone who has been broke 6 years ago, refused to give up, and has become successful.
Right. Quick fire round to finish.
Let's go.
Okay, who do you most admire and why?
I'm probably going to go from someone from the past, and it would be a sports person, which would probably explain a lot of my personality, but Roy Keane. And that wasn't nothing to do with his football, it was just his mindset and his stubbornness and his ability to control a situation. And that for me as a sports person was probably one of my heroes growing up.
Best advice you ever remember receiving?
Why horses wear blinkers. Don't worry about what's going on there or there, just focus on going forward and yourself.
What's your biggest fear?
Feeling how I felt when I when I lost the whole lot, going through the breakdown that I had and giving up. That's my biggest fear, is not being, my biggest fear is quitting.
Do you think that's part of what motivates you to be successful?
100%. I don't even think I'm motivated to be successful. I think I'm motivated not to give up, which in turn allows you to become successful.
What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Having the third child. Biggest risk. Probably, I'd say tattoos all over my face was a pretty damn good one.
Paid off.
Yeah, it's worked. Risk and reward.
Yeah. 15-second or less tip for mental strength.
Believe in yourself more.
Where can we follow you? What are you promoting? What's on social? What have you got coming up that we should all go and check out?
I have a film coming out this summer with Bert Kreischer, an American. He's going to kill me now because I can't pronounce his second name right. And Mark Hamill. Called The Machine, which is a legendary film, produced by them, not, I'm not being egotistical here, which is it's actually a really funny comedy based on a story that Bert tells on stage, which I think will be, I'm hoping will be one of the biggest films to date for me. I've seen my parts already, character's fantastic. I play a Russian, which probably isn't very popular at this moment in time, but it's a very fun family film. That's coming out this summer. We've got Sandman, also on Netflix, which comes out in the next couple of weeks, I believe, which I'm in. There's something else as well. What else am I in? I can't remember. We've got social media platforms. I can't remember them either. Martyn Ford on Instagram, you'll find that. Martyn Ford on TikTok.
And with a Y, Martyn with a Y.
Martyn Ford with a Y.
Yeah.
Martyn Ford doing belly dancing on TikTok. That's the latest one. But that's just search the name and you'll find the platforms if you're interested in following. But all I ever really want from podcasts is that people take the smallest snippet from it and allow to, and hopefully it helps them. Because, I am a very normal person at heart and someone who's lived a very eventful life. And I don't mean that in a, like a bad boy type image. I just mean someone who has been broke 6 years ago, refused to give up, and has become successful because of my mindset. I massively believe that is the refusal to accept what people say, the refusal to limit myself, and if any, especially at the moment with what's going on and how people are becoming driven into poverty, and you know, the prices of just living is going through the roof, and depression's at an all-time high, especially during, you know, for men. And for someone that's been depressed, gone through depression, and still has elements of depression, is just to try and find that switch inside yourself. And we all have it. You just need to find out what that is, and what gives you the energy and motivation to try and become successful. And don't judge your success on other people's success. You know, we're in this room, and financial success, if you were to put your money against my money, you'd probably be head and shoulders above, but
head and neck.
Head and neck. But it's all relevant, because that's you know, it doesn't matter what your classification of success is, as long as you're feeling that you're successful. And for me, I felt as successful 5 years ago as I do now. And the difference in the bank is night and day. But I was happy 5 years ago, because I was happy with myself. I had my daughter, I had my second daughter was on the way, I finally got my own house, and that was all I ever wanted. So don't try and set the bar too high. And that's pretty much all you know, if people can take from this, if one person can take from it and make a small change, then that's all that really matters.
Now that would be a perfect end, but I just have to nick one more question, because it's hyper relevant. You talk about the cost of living right now and how difficult it is for a lot of people. So what caused you to lose your money 7 years ago, and what behaviour change or actions did you make to turn it around? I
don't think it was a case of losing money. I think it was just a case of being stuck in a job that wasn't paying enough for the life I was in. I mean, me and my wife have been together relationship-wise nearly 13 years. We share 3 kids together. We had our ups and downs, as every couple does. We split up for a couple of months about 6-7 years ago, and during that time, I could only afford to pay for the house that my wife and kid lived in, so I was living in the garage at my mum's house. It was a converted garage, there was a bed in there, but I was homeless 7 years ago. Me and the wife got back together, work started picking up again, doors started opening, and now we've got a very nice house, a very nice log cabin, a very nice lifestyle. But I had absolutely nothing 7 years back. And it's trying to allow people that insight into my life. I think a lot of people see successful people and just presume they've always been successful. And they don't realize that there's a lot that goes behind that success. 33 years of not being successful I had, and the last 7 I have. And that's that's the message I'd really love to put out there, especially for the kids coming through, the next generation, the 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds that feel life has already stuffed them because of the way that COVID's hit them in the last 2 years and so on. I'd like to be able to give them some reassurance that if you can just keep digging away, whether it's in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s, if you keep knocking that door, eventually it will open.
This has been awesome. Thanks, Martyn. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wow, that was like a sensory explosion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, and remember this: if you don't risk anything, you risk everything.